Okay, good afternoon, YouTube. Got another Phatkat reaction video today, and this is a reaction to totally off the cuff. Of course, I did kind of just check this video real quick, and then I said, okay, let me just kind of watch it raw, right? So I haven't watched this particular video by the Time Teller, and the title of his live stream is "Building an Entire Watch Collection Using Only Invictas." So let's see what we're going to get from this gem, right? You folks know if you've been watching me for a while, I don't really care for the Time Teller. He's extremely, and you know, there's nothing wrong with being opinionated, but a lot of these watch reviewers out there, they plant seeds of doubt when it comes to other brands because they really want to push what they're affiliated with. And you guys know I'm affiliated with many different brands, but ultimately, no matter which brand you decide to go with, ultimately, if you find value in what I'm doing, then yeah, try to use my affiliate link if you want to. If you don't and you get something from my video, I appreciate you just watching. But I'm not going to bash other brands. If Rolex is your watch, your grail watch you've always wanted, it's not up to me to try to, I guess, talk you out of owning something like that, right? I don't agree with it, but that's not, if you ask me for my opinion, I'll give it. But I'm not going to sit here and like bash any brand, right? Because a lot of these guys, they try to use humor to insult people who might like a brand like Invicta, and he's guilty of that. He's done that for years and years and years. And again, I'm not, like, there's nothing wrong. Like, it doesn't bother me, but it's content, right? And I want to share it with you guys. There's a lot of people out there who will take a guy's word like this and say, oh, well, I can't get an Invicta, or I can't get a Nixon, or I can't get a Casio. Wouldn't be Casio in this case, but you know, it's important to just realize there's lots of really great watches out there at almost every price point, and they're all pretty nice, right? So let's begin. If you do pop into the chat, I do have the live chat feature. Let me turn down the volume here a little bit. Chat open here. Let me see if I can actually read it. I don't know if you guys can see the chat. Depending on what device you're tuning in with. Geez, I don't know. Let me just see if I can. Just give me 1 second. It's kind of the same scenario here with every single video. I just want to be able to open the chat and react to any kind of questions if you guys have any. In order for me to do that, I got to open it up in a different browser window here. So just bear with me 1 second and we'll begin the video. I'm sure there's an easier way of doing this. I just haven't figured it out yet. I just want to be able to open the chat. All right, make sure we don't get double feedback here. We pop out the chat. All right, we should have it now. All right, cool. All right, Mr. 112, we're just going to call you 28. He just started off with him bashing Invicta. It has nothing to do with affiliate links. It more has to do with being... I disagree. I don't know if... I don't see how one could like Boulder watches and appreciate the quality and then talk about Invicta in a negative light. He doesn't come across as saying, hey, this isn't my style, but this is a nice quality watch. He always bashes the watch in its entirety. So to me, what other reason would somebody have to do that if you can wholeheartedly state that Boulder is a good watch, and he has? I have Boulder watches. They're a nice watch. They're no better or worse than anything else out there. So I have more respect for guys who review watches. Just say, hey, these big Invictas just are not my thing, but review a watch. Take a gigantic Invicta like a Sea Hunter, right? Totally not his style, right? Nothing wrong with saying that. But review the quality of the materials, the crystal, the movement, the build. That's an honest review, not like just bashing and trying to make fun of the folks who like that stuff to try to dissuade them from buying something that he's not affiliated with. And I don't necessarily mean that that's the only reason, but in my opinion, if you have a store and links to different places, and you're constantly trying to push people into Seikos and brands that you like, that you're affiliated with, to me, that's dishonest. But it doesn't really matter. It's, you know, I'm just going to react to it, and it is what it is, right? So, and he also says, Mr. just said, I'll kind of come back to the questions in this live chat as well, depending on how many people we get in here, of course. I'll try to stop as I see questions. Sometimes more people ask questions and make comments, so I kind of stop the video more. But 28, I appreciate you coming in. He has more to do with the status quo in the watch collecting space. that Invicta isn't a respected brand. Well, no, I disagree because he'll review Casio, he'll review Boulder watches, he'll review Seiko, and if you honestly like those watches and you like the quality, you are lying if you say the quality of Invicta is poor compared to those because they're on par. So there's no status quo when it comes to Seiko. There's no status quo with Casio and Boulder. Those are affordable watches. Absolutely, I agree with you when it comes to like Rolex and those higher price brands. But and maybe I'm not understanding what you're stating there. Maybe the status quo and the respect from the watch community, like who fucking cares what they think. But all right, so let's begin here. Here we go, folks.
What's up, guys? Okay, so
Let me know if we have any audio problems or anything.
One, I think, very popular, or at least very common, I don't want to say trope or cliche, but I'll say genre of content when it comes to, product reviewers of any hobby.
So, Mister just said Casio's an icon, Seiko's an icon. They're all respected. Invicta's been around longer than those brands. So, if we're stating just something based on, I don't know what you mean by icon. If you can state that Casio and Seiko are icons, you can almost state that any brand's an icon. There's lots of brands that have been around a very long time. Timex being one of them. Swatch. Invicta's been around an extremely long time. They're not the Invicta they used to be, which for me, thank God, because I really like what Invicta does. They're unique, they're creative, they're great quality. So this negativity towards a brand really comes down to taste. It has nothing to do with quality. Invicta has as much heritage as any of those brands.
Is reviewing various products within certain parameters. Usually it pertains to, price ranges, right? And when it comes to the watch world, one of my more common, playlists, or one of my more popular playlists, is the playlist Top Watch Picks. And by picks, I mean P-I-C-K, like watches that I've picked. So,
I'm not sure what playlist he's talking about. Maybe one of his playlists. I don't know. And again, Top Watch Picks, like that's a lot of what I've seen by this guy has nothing to do with quality. It's about just personal taste, and we're all entitled to that, of course. Spitz, what's up, man? He said the dude also obsessed with outdoor exploring hiking watches, and he never leaves the city. I mean, that's cool. I mean, I guess, do what you like. 28 just said Invicta is a modern iteration, has been around since early 2000s. Seiko, Casio. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's what I have to say to that. Like, I'll come back. I can't respond to every time you post something, but I'll reply in a couple minutes here. We have to get this video going. But Seiko's been around since 1881. I believe Invicta's been around the 1800s. You can make any excuse you want for why Invicta doesn't fall into that category, but Invicta's been around an extremely long time. And for anybody to say, they don't have heritage is just, they're not being truthful in that. I'm not going to Google how long. You guys, I'm sure, can Google here and look at exactly when Invicta came onto the scene, but Invicta's been around way before 1946. So yeah, they're not what they were, and again, that is subjective. I think anybody who's being honest, you can't compare a modern watch. Well, let me just state, when you compare a modern watch like an Invicta to a watch that's original Invicta way back in the day, maybe handmade, maybe not, or any of these earlier Seikos or Casios, modern day watches rival vintage watches in quality. I mean, and for anybody who doesn't understand that, there's a little something called modern machining. Things have gotten better. There's nothing wrong with liking something old and vintage. That's totally cool. But I mean, it's Invicta watches are far superior than they've ever been, and far superior to any vintage Seiko or Casio. In all honesty, Invicta watches are on par with Seiko. Not unless you're looking at like a Grand Seiko or something that's been a lot more attention to detail and finishing. But a lot of the Invictas are using NH35. So it's just when you break down what goes into making a watch, we're looking at the quality of the materials, the fit and finishing, the movement being used, the crystal, the bezel action. That's about it, really. These are not overly complicated things. Yeah. Okay, so let me just... It took 5 seconds. Invicta was reestablished in 1991, but they've been around way longer than 91 is my point. You're missing the point here. They've been around way longer than 1991. Obviously, this knucklehead's going to make me Google this, but let's see. don't have time to do this, but Invicta watches, I believe, watches company creation date. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so Invicta's been around since 1837, and they were originally Swiss made. So, I mean, that just puts your argument, like, just knocks you right out of the park there. Yeah, we can go back and forth. They went bankrupt. You're making excuses on why Invicta doesn't have heritage, and I'm just not going to do it. You're not going to get anywhere with me because Invicta, you can't make excuses for Seiko and Casio and be like, oh, well, they've been around a long time. They're an icon, but Invicta's not. You know, Casio's, when they first came out, a lot of them were dog shit compared to what they are now. So, you know, give me a break. You're just making excuses for whatever you like because you don't like Invicta. All right, so I'm going to move on now.
Top watch picks. And if you go to the Time Teller YouTube channel and you click playlists, you can watch that. And it's a whole bunch of videos of me choosing watches within certain price ranges. Like, I'll say, best dive watches under $1,000, or best chronographs under a certain amount of money, right? And those episodes typically do well, and it's sometimes, various parameters, especially if you get super duper specific, it gets very difficult. Like, I remember one I did, I think this was probably around the pandemic. Multiple people actually, asked me to make a list of automatic GMTs that are under 40 millimeters and under $1,000 or something. And it's like, those parameters are it's so specific, it's so difficult.
Pretty easy to find a GMT under 1,000. Maybe he'll explain that a little bit further, but maybe it's the size. Maybe a lot of GMTs are not, but we're talking 40 millimeter. It's like you can find GMTs at 42 millimeter. That's pretty close. All over AliExpress, eBay, Amazon, DHgate, Temu, with NH35. There's so many great brands out there making GMTs for under 1,000. Like, that's like most of them. So this should be pretty easy. There's so many great watches using NH series movements that are GMT, and lots of other different movements too. So
difficult because, first of all,
Ian, what up, man? Way too small. We got a Invicta hater in the chat, so feel free to chime in, folks. And he's not, again, don't come down on him too hard. He's not being rude or anything like that, but he's familiar with the concept of branding. Yeah, brands go out of business, then get sold, absolutely, but that doesn't mean you can just rob them of their heritage and their name, right? I mean, I can think back of a Casio that I got, the Twin Graph, back in the early 80s, or maybe mid-80s, and like that watch, the rubber has completely disintegrated off the watch. It's like, and I did not abuse the watch. Same thing with the G-Shock I had from that time. Completely disintegrated and dry rot. So should we just state that all G-Shocks are garbage and just dog shit? Like, absolutely not. Like, things get better with time. Companies learn and try to use newer materials in order to prevent that from happening. If you buy a G-Shock nowadays, will that happen 20 years, 30 years? No, I don't know. Maybe it's the exact same material they're using. I've no clue. I like all watches, no matter what brand they are. Even Rolex. I mean, I just wouldn't rationalize the money on one, right? I just don't see the point. But that's just me personally. That has nothing to do with me, like, telling you not to buy one, right? And I think Casio is a fine brand, and I think Seiko is a fine brand too. But when I look at what quality you get for Seiko as compared to Invicta, if we're looking at like an identical watch, and I hate using the Pro Diver because Pro Diver is one of the most boring Invictas ever, right? I shouldn't say boring. It's common, right? I mean, it's another homage. But the Invicta Pro Diver at like $68 an H35 movement. I mean, that's an incredible value. And we compare that side by side with Seiko, which I've done. I have a Seiko in my collection from the 80s. When you compare the 80s Seiko compared to modern day watches, I mean, is a Seiko piece of dog shit? No, it's not, right? But I mean, it doesn't feel as solid as something made nowadays. And so that's just the fact of modern machining. Materials are better. Machining is better. There are tighter tolerances. I mean, that's just how life works. It's how it goes. So, but when you look at what a Seiko that's comparable to what an Invicta costs, like, you pay 3 times as much, 4 times as much for a Seiko as opposed to a Steel Dive, a Tactical Frog, any of those brands. So, again, all watches have markup, but a lot of brands like Seiko are kind of living off their name because they've been around for so long and they can get away with charging people more money. Ultimately, it's buy what you like. There's a couple Seikos I really like the Katura. I wouldn't mind having one of those in my collection, but I have so many watches. It's like, it's just hard for me to rationalize spending $300, $400 on a watch nowadays. I've been looking at a Citizen, and again, I ended up getting rid of a couple watches I don't wear, and I was like, all right, I'm going to sell these and take the money and buy that Citizen. I'm going to buy that Seiko. The Excelsior by Seiko I really like, but a quartz Seiko Excelsior for $300 is to me, it's a little excessive, but it is a discontinued watch. It is a cool looking watch, but I can't rationalize spending even $300 for a watch. It's, I just don't. I have too many. It's not too many, but it's hard for me to, you know what I mean? Like $300, I'd rather buy some more tools, or I kind of pick and choose what I want to buy, if that makes sense.
Well, automatic GMTs are typically over 40 millimeters, or at minimum 40 millimeters. And a lot of them are, around $1,000. Now, things have changed, especially when you get into micro brands and stuff.
Yeah, maybe if you're getting something in a 40 millimeter size, maybe there's just not a lot of movements made that'll fit in a 40 millimeter case that are GMT. But $1,000, like that, there's watches, thousands, maybe not thousands, but hundreds of watches out there that'll give you a good quality GMT movement. Automatic that for like 150 $200. So that 40 millimeter might be the culprit there, but it's like if you're gonna spend, why not just jump up 2 millimeters and save a bunch of money than try to find something specific to 40 millimeter. That's up to the person buying it, right?
You can find automatic GMTs for under $1,000, but they're not necessarily going to be under 40 millimeters. So what I'm trying to say is some requests are easier than others, and some are more difficult. Well, a couple of you guys thought it would be funny because I think it may have been yesterday or the day before. I mentioned how when I was power ranking dive watches under $500, I mentioned that the Invicta Pro dive...
Dude, these watch reviewers all do the same thing, like best dive watch under 500, best dive watch under 1,000. It's like, dude, they're all pretty nice.
Diver really isn't that bad, and that's something.
I'm gonna tell you, like $1,000 for a watch or $150 for a watch, not a lot of difference here, if any. I mean, that's just really, that's people trying to. They have to believe there's a difference because you're spending so much more for a watch, and really, it's like they're just like delusional, in my opinion.
Something that I've kind of changed my opinion on. I used to think it was the worst thing ever, and then I realized, honestly, as like an entry-level watch, it's not really that difficult.
All right, a little headway from the time teller. I'm surprised. He's, done nothing but bash Invicta for the last 10 years. So now suddenly it's not that bad. I wonder why. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say not that bad. I've always said with Invicta, there's two different lines. There's the line not even the line, there's two different quality levels. The real entry level stuff, which is, I hate to use price to determine that, but like that $30 to $60 price range a lot of times, where it doesn't feel really all that solid. It's like comparing it almost to, like, remember Aragon did like an Angel's watch. It wasn't stainless steel. It was like some kind of plating on it. It just doesn't have that feeling. But if you look at like a reserve level Invicta, like a Sea Hunter, a Zeus Bolt, a Grand Octane, the quality is exceptional with those watches. So 28 just said, by the way, I'm just kind of looking at the chat he said, by the way, get a San Martin, you'll see the lack of quality. Nonsense. Well, get a San Martin, you'll see the lack of quality with a Rolex. Do you agree with that? Because there's been a comparison on here that I've reacted to where they compared a San Martin under high resolution 200 times magnification with a Rolex, and San Martin finishing was superior. So, I mean, like, can we go as far as saying San Martin is a great watch? Don't get me wrong, but side by side, San Martin, I can guarantee you if I hold the San Martin in my hand in a steel dive, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I can guarantee you holding a San Martin in my hand compared to an Invicta, let's say Sub-Aqua Specialty, you're absolutely false. There's not an insane difference there in quality. I'm sorry. You're just not. It's just not the case, right? I mean, I have a 500 watches in my collection. I mean, by a lot of different brands, not just Invicta. I mean, I have a $2,000 Aqua Dive, which that is a well-respected brand, a Visser dive watch. I mean, I got, like, those are more my top, like, higher price watches, but when you compare the Visser dive watch, it's gorgeous. I like it, right? When I compare the Bathyscaphe by Aqua Dive, right? That watch, $2,000 all day. When you compare those watches to an Invicta, I'm not necessarily saying the Pro Diver, because I have a Pro Diver. There's Pro Divers and Pro Divers. Like, I have a Pro Diver that it's not as nice as, let's say, the San Martin or even the Steel Dive. But if you compare that with, like, the Grand Octane, the Sea Hunter, the Zeus Bolt, like, there's no difference in quality there. Like, they're both extremely well-made watches. Yeah, one costs $2,000, you know. It has, yeah, maybe on paper, the movement. There's probably a technical reason on why an ETA, I think it's a 2824, 2924, probably a technical reason on why that movement is better than, let's say, an NH35. But at the end of the day, they all tell time reasonably well. So I personally wouldn't spend $1,000 more, thousands of dollars more in some cases, to have a watch that's a little bit more accurate. Just for me personally, I don't wear my watches every single day. I constantly rotate them. So, you know, I just don't really, like, I just don't buy it. Like, I have Valjus, I have Solitas, I have ETAs, I have Tourbillons, I have lots of NH series, Miotas. I mean, you name it, Citizen, I got them all. And at the end of the day, I don't see a lot of difference in quality across all brands. Unless, of course, I'll give you that when you're looking at that $40, $50 Pro Diver, it's nice for the money, but yeah, it's not as nice as, like, the Steel Dive, right? Or a lot of those other brands, so.
Well, a few of you knocked.
Ian just said Nubeo. Sorry, Ian. Ian said Nubeo catches everyone's eye no matter what setting you're in. Absolutely, Nubeo is an extremely popular brand. We've been killing it. Yeah, I mean, Nubeo is extremely unique. And when I compare the quality of Nubeo, remember, Dartmouth is the company behind Nubeo, Spinnaker, RGMT, Aviate, Shield watches. What else? There's another one there I'm missing. Spinnaker, did I say Spinnaker? And across all those, like, Ballast, across all those brands, like, they're all nice. I mean, there's not one that's really, like, a lot of people be like, oh, Spinnaker's amazing, Nubeo sucks. It's like, yeah, same company, dude, same quality. So, I don't know.
Knuckleheads have written to me and asked if I could build a viable, like, legit watch collection using only Invictas, okay? And Invicta has been pretty much.
Oh, Mr. 28, you own Steel Dive, you own Tactical Frog, you own Nubeo, you own RGMT, you own Citizen, Seiko, Invicta, Aragon, Android, Cadola, Aviate, Visser Dive Watch. I highly doubt you own a Visser Dive Watch. Aqua Dive Bathyscaphe, doubt you own that. I've never met anybody who's owned. I mean, they're out there, don't get me wrong, but I highly doubt you own those.
The butt of every joke on this channel, but I wanted to take it seriously, and I wanted to see if I could actually build a legit watch collection. And I'm not saying, like, oh, this one's gonna be my daily watch. Oh, it's a 55mm Invicta Zeus Bolt. Oh no, like, I
don't understand what the little sounds he's making is about. A 55mm Zeus Bolt, like, just because he may not want to wear a large watch, like, I've worn, there was time when I really got into Invicta, and I like all watches. I still like my Invictas, don't get me wrong. But I don't wear them daily, right? I used to. I would wear, 12-hour shift. I'd wear a 55, 57mm Sea Hunter. So, you can wear whatever you want. There's no rules. If it doesn't bother you, it is a heavier watch, right? It doesn't bother you and you don't find it uncomfortable, you wear it. Like, there's no rules here. This is just opinions, and you don't have to, like, try to, I don't know. I just feel like he's just trying to, like, throw, like, a passive-aggressive jab at people who like Invicta. And just, there's lots of great watches out there. I don't know how many more times I gotta say it. The quality of Invicta is fantastic. Of course, the large watches aren't for everybody, but, it's personal taste.
Actually tried to choose legit watches that I think are actually cool and that you could build a legit watch collection out of. So without further ado, it is 220.
Yeah, so Mister, that's awesome you own all those. Go ahead and send me a picture to phatcatcollections@gmail.com of your Bathyscaphe on a piece of paper with today's date on it and the number 321. This way we know that you actually have that. You won't do it. You won't. I won't get that email, so I doubt you own that.
21 p.m.
And I'll admit if I'm wrong, man. I will.
Let's get down to business. First things first, what is a watch collection? Well, I think these things mean different things for other people. Okay.
I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Watch collection is a collection. A collection, I mean, I guess I don't like this guy, so I guess maybe I don't want to be too harsh here, but yeah, a watch collection can be, it is subjective as well. Like, some people may have 5 watches and be like, hey, this is enough. So a collection is, I do think a watch collection should be more than 3, but I don't know. 28 just said I have Steel Dive, San Martin Tactical Frog. Yeah, but you don't have the Aqua Dive, is what I was, I guess, getting at here. So, yeah.
No, but this is just one man's perspective. I think a watch collection should have a dress watch for formal occasions. It should.
No, I don't agree. I think, a watch collection should be ultimately what you like, and not everybody. I think it's funny when people are like, you should have a dress watch for formal occasions, when most people, like this guy, guaranteed, like as said in the chat, he is very outdoorsy, right? And so, I mean, I don't think somebody has to have a dress watch in their collection. That's just his, this is his assessment of what he thinks a watch collection should entail. A watch collection, in my opinion, should be ultimately when you see a watch, no matter what it costs, no matter what it looks like, and you say get excited about it, that should be one to add to your collection. You can wear a giant Invicta in a tuxedo. I personally wouldn't. I mean, as much as I like those watches. But, I mean, you can wear whatever you feel like wearing. There are no rules here.
Should have some form of sports watch, specifically.
Man, 28. I'm not coming down on you, dude. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being in the chat. But you said you have all those watches. I'm stating you do not. Right? I'm not saying you don't have the Steel Dive San Martin Tactical Frog. It's fantastic. But I was making a point. Most people I've met don't have the Visser dive watch. They don't have the Bathyscaphe Aqua Dive. So my only point mentioning that is not to make a ridiculous back and forth. It's just that you said you had it, and I don't believe you do, because those are kind of like off-brand watches, right? So
usually a diver. I think it'd be cool to have something like a field watch, and if you can't find a field watch, maybe like a pilot watch, and some form of complication, and specifically, I think a chronograph.
I would have to say why. I mean, if this is what he's recommending somebody having a watch collection, I disagree. I think, again, to kind of really hammer home my point, I think a watch collection should, and this is what people do. They watch guys like this. They're like, oh, I need a field watch. What do you need a field watch for, right? I mean, if you look at field watches, like, I'll give you an example. My coworker was, after I started this job and working with him, we started talking watches, and I got him kind of into it a little bit. So he's bought a couple watches now. And so, I didn't say what I think you should get. I said, ultimately go through. He's like, I think I want something in white. I like that NATO strap. Then field watch, he ended up getting one. So ultimately, you buy the watch that you are drawn to, right? But just to say, oh, well, starting a watch collection, I need to get a dress watch, a dive watch, a field watch, is kind of ridiculous. You just get a watch based on what you like, I do think if you are a person who wears a lot of, if you wear a lot of suits, right, and dress shirts, I would say then, yeah, you might want to have some watches that aren't large, but, a Submariner style watch is easily a dress watch as well. Dress watches are usually described as having, a leather strap, usually, right, or super thin. When we look at a field watch, typically field watches have a NATO strap on them, right? So, you don't have to choose one from every category. You just have to choose the watches that really call to you, I guess is my point.
And then there's one wild card, okay, that I've kind of thrown in to the mix, and the thumbnail of this stream is going to kind of give it away. By the way, speaking of this stream, we do daily streams on this channel Monday through Friday, and if we're not, and the super chats really going to be talking about something.
All right, sorry.
So without further ado, let's get into
it.
The building of my watch collection. So okay, I think a dress watch is a great place to start. Even if you're not a formal guy, having
All right, so like we're going back and forth in the chat here. This is a typical Invicta where if you look at this $49 Invicta and you compare the quality to, let's say, a Steel Dive, right? One of the ones that this gentleman's mentioning here, a San Martin, a Tactile Frogger. Tandorio is a little cheaper, but I'd even go as far as saying I've tried to reach out to Tandorio. I have not been able to get one, but Tandorio is like a $50, $60 watch. They're nice. I'm sure they're nice, right? Because when you look at the watches that are coming from a lot of these Chinese brands, if you get a Chinese branded watch, which are a lot of them, that's by Duxo, which is, one of my affiliates. You look at Steel Dive, you look at, what do we got here? Addy's Dive. I have Addy's Dive in my collection. When you look at some of the replica watches, the fake watches out there, in all honesty, a lot of these Pagani design, perfect example, a lot of these watches are extremely similar. So, like, if you like a Pagani design, it's probably made in the exact same factory as a Tandorio watch, right? And so, generally, I've even seen the price on Pagani creeping down lately, like $50, $60. So those are great watches. But when you compare this Invicta to something like that, I would venture to guess that the quality you're going to get with like a Pagani or any of the brands this guy's mentioning is going to be better than this Invicta. Without having them in hand, you don't know, but sometimes we'll associate quality with weight too, at least I do. When you feel something solid stainless steel like that, you just feel like you're getting more for your money, Whereas like a dress watch has got a leather strap, it's probably a basic leather strap, and this is kind of the quality where somebody might pick up this Invicta, and if you judge the total brand, the quality of the brand by this watch, I think one might say, this is Invicta, when really this is an entry-level Invicta. And I think if you are looking to build a collection based on Invictas, I don't necessarily know if I'd recommend this particular watch. But anyway, it's like as cheap as you can get.
a dressy watch that is, I don't know, people don't like when I use the word delicate or dainty, but something elegant.
I agree with him on that. Yeah, a dress watch is that's a good way of describing what a dress watch should be. Delicate, dainty. It doesn't mean they're like cheap or like they're not of quality or that they're not going to last. It just means they do tend to be thinner, lighter, and I don't want to, I think he said, what did he say there of sophistication? Let me go back a little bit. He said,
like when I use the word delicate or dainty, but something elegant.
So elegant is subjective. I mean, elegant, I don't think that, when I look at this Invicta, I don't think that's elegant at all. Like, when I think of the word elegant, I don't think anything masculine, right? So again, that's just the way I think of the word elegant. It's going to be different for everybody. So elegant can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. He's stating what he thinks about it, but again, that, like, I don't relate to that at all, because if you're wearing a nice tuxedo or a suit, you could very easily wear this watch, any leather strap watch, any of them. They all look good, a Submariner style watch, whether it be on bracelet or on strap, right? I think if you're gonna wear something like that, I don't know, you can wear NATO as well. None of these things are gonna look bad, the 70 millimeter center might look a little out of place, right? Because there's nothing, in my opinion, elegant or dainty about a lot of this larger Invictus. But sometimes you look at a lot of the hip hop industry; they have their own style. A lot of guys are wearing huge chains and all kinds of stuff. And I always like when somebody expresses themselves, And so I think there are no rules. You can wear whatever you want. I don't know.
And something sharp. And I don't think you can go wrong with a rectangular watch. I truthfully think that's one of my favorite case shapes.
It's hard to, like, when guys are like, I think it's one of my favorite, because I know in another video he'll be like, oh, round is one of my favorite case shapes. I don't know, at least for me personally, when I look at square watches, I kind of agree. I get a little more, not excited, but I like the square watches because most watches are round, and so it's always nice to have something a little bit outside the box. I like when watches, like one of the Spinnakers that I really like, I have a ton of them. My dad, I got him one, he loves it, is the Dumas. It's got kind of like an octagon shape. I like when we get away from the round look, but they're all nice. I enjoy them all.
And here we have a very interesting display and very vintage in design. And this is known as the Invicta Vintage Men's Watch, 30mm black, 46857. And on
It doesn't look bad, don't get me wrong, but like 30 millimeter, here's the way I feel about 30 millimeter. It's like almost like, why bother, Not say, again, I'm not trying to say that somebody shouldn't wear that. I don't want to come across that way, but I just feel like a watch would be something. I want something, just based on my personality, I want something that looks a little flashy. I want something to stand out. I like when people notice what I'm wearing and say, dude, that's a crazy watch, or wow, that's an interesting ring. I can just use, and this is just me personally, right? Like, my mom gave me this rose ring, and this ring here is, my dad gave this to my mom as like a promise ring when they were like 15 years old. This one, I forget exactly the story on this. I don't know where this one came from, but my mom's had, these are like 70-year-old rings, right? 60, 70-year-old rings. So like these are very special to me, right? And a lot of guys probably wouldn't wear, this is a very feminine ring, right? And so I absolutely love wearing this. And what's really interesting about this ring, is that even though this is a ring that's not, like, this is not huge, I cannot tell you when I'm like talking to somebody and I just have a habit of like, kind of like playing my beard, right? It's a stupid habit. But I can always see their eyes go towards my fingers. And then usually it'll come up in conversation like, that's an interesting ring, or are you, So it's just interesting. I like when people notice some of the things that I like. And I think a watch is kind of similar to that. I always love when I get a compliment on this ring. And so not only is it special to me, but it's cool that other people notice it and I get to tell my little story about it. And it's kind of the fun thing about watches is talking about it too. And so when somebody's like, dude, that's a crazy watch, or wow, interesting watch, I don't like it because I'm thinking that they like think I have money or something. I like it because it's like, yeah, this is this particular Nubeo Polaris Tourbillon. And then you might kind of, I don't know, just spark up you might have some kind of common interest. This person might get into watches. Whether they do or don't is irrelevant, right? Unless you're trying to get a commission off it or sell them, which doesn't happen like on a one-on-one. But, it's like somebody looking at your car. Like the other day I was pulling in Chipotle. Dude's like, dude, like your truck. And I'm always surprised because it's like a 20-year-old truck. It's got little, it needs a little body work here and there, but it's a good looking ride. And I get complimented all the time. There's so many newer, more advanced trucks that cost, $80,000, but yet I get complimented all the time. So it's always nice for somebody to recognize something that you like, I think. And so, I don't know. I digress.
On the Invicta website, I guess, Invicta's perpetually doing sales.
I knew where I was going with that. So like if I were to wear a vintage watch like this, I just don't think anybody's going to notice it. It's not really unique. It's pretty boring in my opinion. That's not to insult the watch or anybody who likes it in any way, but it is a very basic watch. And wearing this, nobody is going to notice this. I would notice this because if I was talking to somebody and you start to build a little rapport with somebody, I'd be like, ooh, what are you wearing? Just because I'm a watch guy. But most people aren't going to notice this. This isn't going to spark a conversation at all. I don't know.
They're doing their spring clearance, and it's $49.90. Okay.
See, I'm not sure what the little chuckle was. That was, again, an underhanded kind of insult. He's really trying hard not to insult the brand because he wants to. Yes, Invictas are constantly on sale. And I don't like this type of marketing. I've said it for years I've been saying it. Invicta puts it on for $149. It's spring clearance, but most of the time you're probably going to get this watch for under $149, right? And you have to look at this price too, because when you look at most Invictas, their MSRP is usually like insanely high. Like I would expect on a watch like this to have the MSRP of like $1,000, knowing what Invicta normally does. Now maybe they're cleaning up their act a little bit. I hate that. I hate that they do that because it cheapens the brand. This hard selling on the home shopping networks. These people that I don't even know, like maybe Invicta Ryan wears these watches, but I don't know if anybody else does. And I don't know. I just don't like that type of. I guess it's entertaining, I guess, and they reach people, but I'd much rather watch somebody who's into it, who likes what they're talking about. And I don't know. I just, like, a watch like this, they are always on special, and that kind of sucks. I wish they would just be like, yep, we sell this for $75 normally, and then it's on sale for $49. And this price difference isn't that bad. Some are like $5,000 on sale for $200. That sucks. I am in agreement with the whole watch community on that, but yeah, I don't know. But he always got he does not like this brand.
Okay, so this has a really cool and dude, this reminds me actually of my Hamilton Secron doctor's watch. You're getting two sub registers. You're getting some Romans. I really do not like the Invicta font. Like I really.
Yeah, the Invicta font. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like that's not that unique. Like, give me a break. Like if that font was another brand that he liked, like the one he just mentioned, he'd be like, "Oh, I love this font." Like this is where guys are like just full of shit. Like I don't even notice the font. I'm just like I didn't even know it had its own font, and I've been wearing these watches for like decades.
I really, really, really do not like it. But truthfully, it is not the worst thing in the world, dude.
Well, I should hope not. Like you just compared it to like your Hamilton.
I really, really enjoy it. John Swick with the super chat. This is blasphemy.
Yeah, see, and that's the kind of people that usually follow this guy. Like, why is it blasphemy to like compliment an Invicta? This is where these guys are like trolls and little minions. They just like they hear what they're into these little groups, these little communities on Reddit, and then they're just like, oh, Invicta sucks. They're like, yeah, Invicta sucks. You know, it's just like can't you make up your own fucking mind? Like, how do you know it's like? Go buy one. You know, you can go buy one and return from Amazon if you don't like it. Like I can assure you that Invicta makes a great quality watch for a great price. And anybody who says otherwise is just fucking full of shit and just is hating on the brand because they don't like the brand and they want to feel like they're part of something. And if bashing Invicta makes them part of something and makes them feel like they're sophisticated, then they'll do that. And it's just unfortunate.
It is, dude. But the thing is, if I don't push my limits, then how can I lead you?
This is only for views because Invicta is a brand that is viewed on YouTube. It just is. And so that, you know, this is not pushing his limits. He's never going to buy this. He's never going to wear an Invicta. I'd have more respect for him if he did buy it and be like, you know, I've been wearing this and it's actually pretty decent. Or if he buys it, he's like, yeah, I don't like it. This is what I don't like about it. And just be like objective about what you don't like. I mentioned the font. Like, yeah, he's entitled to not like the font, but to me, this is such a small thing to nitpick. I find it quite ridiculous. But let me come back to the comments here for a second. We didn't get a lot of people in here, which just sucked. But I do appreciate. Let me see who we got in here. Man, just me and 28, dude. What the fuck? I'll give Time Teller this. He pulls the views. That's for sure. People like him more than me, which hurts, folks. It hurts. It hurts deep. Not really. I don't give a fuck. So. Yeah, he just said I don't take it personal at all. I'm just, again, this is what's interesting about people when you defend Invicta, they think you're taking it personal. Like why can I say don't take it personal that it has this font? I'm not taking this personal. I'm just speaking my mind on what he's saying. I'm always going to wear what I like that makes me happy. And if somebody wants to say they don't like it, I'm going to be like, well, fuck off, you know? Or if they start to, like, again, this is for content, right? So I'm doing this because I'm just curious what he has to say, right? And so I don't take any of this personal, right? These are watches.
I need to blaze.
But I do believe in being respectful to one another, so.
These trails here, guys. I need to show you that if I can push past my fragile sensibilities and my preconceived notions, if I can't open my mind, how can I expect you guys?
Why don't you shut the fuck up, open your wallet, buy that shit and wear it, and then see what you think, right? I mean, that's the only way you really know what a watch is like. And, you know, a lot of times I'm guilty of saying, too, like, I'll say, San Martin's a great watch. And I've never had a San Martin. But I have enough watches, like, in my collection by so many different brands. And I think it's safe to say that if I get a San Martin, I'm going to be happy with it. Am I going to get it and say that this San Martin was, let's say we're talking like Submariner homages. If I get that San Martin and pay $350 for it, and then I compare it to the Addies dive, do I really feel in my heart that I'm gonna get that watch? Be like, oh man, this San Martin's nicer. I don't think I'm gonna see any difference whatsoever. And if there's any difference, it's gonna be so minuscule and be like, I don't know if this is worth the extra $200. But it's still a fine watch, right? I mean, maybe under macro lens, like that video I discussed. You know, maybe under macro you can really see the difference comparing that to, let's say, an Addies dive. But I'm not going around with a jeweler's loop on my head, you know, or a microscope, right? So it's like it doesn't matter. If you can't see it with the naked eye, I really don't give a shit about it.
to open yours. So anyway, I think that this is actually one of their best watches, and I was very surprised to.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, if you want to say this is one of their best watches based on design and style, subjectively, then okay, fine. But this is definitely not one of their best watches when it comes to quality. I can almost guarantee.
Learn about it. So I think with a dress watch, for $50, just under $50, I think this is a great option at 30 millimeters. I think that it is going to wear much like one of the vintage watches that you would find me wearing.
I don't think so. I think at 30 millimeters, I think we're looking at 30 millimeter width. That's probably a 50 millimeter watch. So I find it odd that he would not wear a 50 millimeter watch, but this is kind of like wearing a 50 millimeter watch. If you look at just the proportions of this, if we're looking at 30 millimeters, I'm 99% certain this is not 30 millimeters diagonally. This is 30 millimeters from left to right. Then that watch is probably closer to 60 millimeters in length. You can't say that you're not wearing a 60 millimeter watch when somebody, remember, a lot of times I'll say, hey, this watch wears larger, and they're looking at like a 30 millimeter round watch. A 30 millimeter round watch, a 40 millimeter round watch wears like a 40 mil. If you have a 40 millimeter watch, you're like, oh, it wears larger. It only wears larger if you have a huge crown, huge function pushers, or like huge lugs, and they're measuring at 40, But a watch like this watch is kind of that scenario. It's a 30 millimeter watch, but this does not wear like a 30 millimeter watch. This watch wears more like a 60 millimeter watch. So it's interesting that we can make the excuse for this, but not for the other ones. Like, it just seems so out of character that he would wear a 60 millimeter watch when in the first couple minutes ago he's like, oh, 50 millimeter. You know what I mean? It's just like, I just don't get it, I guess.
Any given day. Okay, so we have a dress watch. What about a sporty watch? Specifically a diver. Well, shout out Ben's Watch Club.
Oh, no.
He says Invicta's best watch is overhyped. I disagree.
I disagree too. Ben's Watch Club is a fucking liar. But I'm so tired of seeing this 1953. If you like the 53, if you like the quality of the 53, then you're going to like the quality of 90% of the Invictas out there. Or maybe not 90. I'm just kind of pulling that out of my ass. But if you like the quality of this watch, you're going to like the quality of a lot of the Invicta watches. Because this watch has good quality.
I wrote this back in 2021, so maybe his opinion will have changed. This is an Invicta Pro Diver. This is the 1953. Now, the year 1953, of course, in the world of horology, is known as, the birth year of modern dive watches. That's the first year that Rolex came out with the Submariner. Now, 1952, Blancpain came out with the 50 Fathoms, which actually was the true archetype of a dive watch. 50 Fathoms ended up not being nearly as popular. Rolex takes the...
I always thought the 50 Fathoms came out before the Submariner, but I could be wrong. Maybe I've been wrong on that.
Cake, and that's why Rolex is in the history books as the first dive watch, when in reality, neither of them made the first dive watch. The first dive watch was the Omega Marine, which came out way before Blancpain or Rolex. But I digress. Dean Woods, push it real good. Salt and pepper. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby. Anyway, this is much better than the Pro Diver that you and I recognize from the last decade or so, because for some reason this kind of is much less of a one-to-one rendition of a Submariner than the first Pro Diver.
Yeah, so again, subjective, but Mr. just said that's what he said, 50 Fathom 52. Yeah, I'm sorry, I must have missed that. But yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, so some folks say the Submariner is a homage to the 50 Fathoms.
Which just looked like a copy of a Slim Lug, Submariner. This...
Yeah, and everyone their brother copies a Submariner. I love when guys are always insinuating Invicta is just the only one. The only one, how dare them copy? They copy everybody's designs.
Yeah, you could say, well, you know, it is an homage to vintage Submariner, and the truth is, yeah, but this is, I think, less of a one-to-one, and I
So
think this
that's
is
exactly
more
what I
of
mean.
an homage in the definition of homage, which is
See, this is what guys do. They make their excuses. They make excuses for what they believe.
something that is inspired by, something that is a nod.
And I've said it many times. I don't really like the word homage when it comes to these watches. You know, and don't get me wrong. I have lots. I wear them. I like them. But a homage means to pay respect to pay tribute to. Like a brand copying another brand is not a homage. It's just a copy. It's just a legal copy where they're like, hey, we're going to rip off this entire design because they know the Submariner is very popular. Some people either don't want to spend the money or can't afford to get one or don't see the value in spending that much, right? Whatever, and don't want. They want that look. You know, it's a basic, clean, simple watch. It looks good. It's not any more unique than a Timex. You know, I don't know. I just feel like, you know, when it comes to a homage, it's just a nice way of saying like, hey, we just ripped this brand off. And so ultimately they're copies. Whether you want to wear one that's infringing on the name or not is up to you. It's a personal preference. You know, I don't know. And he, Mr. just said he's giving it credit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're talking about, man.
To versus a one-to-one copy, which is what the first Pro Diver was. So I think that this is not overhyped, and I think
What about the Grand Diver? Like nobody, like I mean, just because they make one that's like a copy, like what about the Grand Diver? The Grand Diver's got its own like scallop bezel. It's different. Nobody ever mentions that one.
this truly, even if you were to just buy this and this and call it a day, I think that's a great collection. To be honest, it's affordable, and yeah, they're Invictas, but the truth is, I would give you the Time Teller seal of approval. I think that
What the fuck? Interesting. I wonder why his, because this is totally out of character for him to be given a seal of approval for Invicta, right? And ultimately, like, it shouldn't matter. Like, but at least I'm glad he's at least saying that. But it shouldn't matter what I say. It shouldn't matter what this fucking guy says. If you see something you like, no matter what brand it is, you know, and it calls to you, you should get it, right?
watches are more than just the brands that have produced them. There are watches that I like from brands that I hate. I'm proving that right now. And there are watches that I hate.
But why hate them? Like, why hate the brand? Like, there's not a brand, you know, I just don't understand this idea where one would hate anything, really. Like, specifically brand of watch. Like, how could you hate any watch? Like, they're all pretty similar, whether they're square, round, octagon, big, small. Like, they're all pretty cool. Like, they're all pieces of jewelry, you know? Some elaborate, some not. So, like, there's no brands out there that even Rolex, like, I will never spend the money on a Rolex watch. It's not because I can't afford it, and I'm not trying to say that, like, I'm balling here. I'm just saying I could buy a Rolex watch tomorrow if I want, cash, no problem. But I just don't see, it's not going to bring me any more joy than a $100 watch, right? So I just don't, it's just not for me. I've said many times, if I won the lotto, I do like, there is a Rolex that I like by a brand called Medusa. They customize them. And it's done in all like red rubies. And so that's something I would definitely treat myself with. But for 17 grand, like I'd rather have $17,000 more in the bank. I just don't, it's not going to, it's just absurd to me to spend that much money for a watch. Unless you just have a ton of money you don't know what to do with. But that's just my personal opinion.
From brands that I love. I think the majority of content I produce on this channel is complaining about those category of watches, which is watches that I absolutely hate from brands that I actually really do like. Now, I did my damnedest trying to find a field watch that I enjoyed from Invicta. Didn't really happen. But I did find a
I kind of find field watches funny. I have a couple, but I don't. I guess I mean, really, in my opinion, any watch could be a field watch if you like slap a NATO strap on it, you know. But maybe his definition of field watch is.
I did find a pilot's watch that I actually thought was cool. Has that onion crown. Listen, guys, this is not anything different than what you would find from Laco or Hamilton. Like the Aviator, this is known as their model 22973. Has an MSRP of $495, but I guarantee you can find them much cheaper brand new. 100-meter water resistance rating and a Japanese quartz movement. It is a little larger, 45 millimeters, but here's the thing. That's actually kind of in line with like old school Flieger watches. Flieger watches are not small.
But if it was 45 millimeter and like, you know, a Zeus bolt, a smaller, then it wouldn't be okay. It's just like...
Additionally, they are quite oversized with an oversized onion crown so that when you are wearing flight gloves, you can actually actuate that crown. I think
I didn't know that because so many people have planes. Good to know. I know me personally, I always have a hard time trying to set the time when I'm flying my F-14 Tomcat. You know, that's good. It's good to know.
This is pretty inoffensive. It has the really nice red tip on the second hand. It has broad arrow, broad hour and minute hand. Has the day at the 12 o'clock. Has the date at the 6 o'clock. And double zeros, baby.
See, I personally think that's a know-nothing, boring watch, in my opinion. So why not just, if you're starting a watch collection, you say, hey, I'm going to buy 5 watches. I mean, why say I need a dress, a dive, an aviator, or field watch? Like, I would never, you know, it's better. I just recommend if you're going to start a watch collection, pick the ones that you really like. It doesn't matter the category, you know. Maybe you want one gold, maybe you want one silver, you know. To me, that makes more sense than just buying one because it's an aviator watch.
At the top, I think that's really cool. Honestly, you put this on a distressed like textile strap. I think that's actually a really cool watch. But probably don't pay full price for it. If you can only find them at $495, I would not recommend it. But I think that
no, I agree. $495 is absurd for that watch. I mean, that watch is sub 100.
This is actually really cool. So
not a bad watch. It's just 500. 500 to me is too much for any watch, honestly.
I give a thumbs up. Now, here's where we get into this is the wild card that I mentioned, okay? There's a wild card and then there's an honorable mention, okay? There has to be some complication in your watch collection. You don't got to, but I think you should. Why not? Why not? If you're building a watch collection, why not have a complication? And I'm not saying you got to have a minute repeater or something. I'm saying a chronograph. You should get a chronograph. I think that chronographs are very fun, if anything, just as some type of fidget toy.
What? Dude, like, maybe people don't have full-time jobs. I don't understand the fidget toy thing. And, I mean, what, do you got to sit around playing with your watch? Like, I got shit to do. And so, yeah, I mean, a chronograph, I have a bunch of chronographs. I'd much rather all those chronographs I have just be standard, basic, like, I don't even need the date. I just need to tell time. That's it. But that's my opinion. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't get one. I just don't, you know, a chronograph is a stopwatch, basically. Of all the chronographs I have them because that particular model of watch that I liked came in a chronograph, so I had no choice. But I'd always, if I had the option, I'd always go just basic.
And I've said this since...
I get no more enjoyment wearing a Valjoux 7750 chronograph over a Ronda Quartz over an NH35 or a Temu, you know, $29.99 iced out special.
The first, month on my channel producing content, I always said, you never know how much you'll use a chronograph until you get one.
Totally
and then
disagree.
You find yourself timing every damn thing.
That's just, no, I don't agree with, I don't believe that at all. Timing everything. That would be, if I was around somebody who's timing everything for no reason at all because they have a chronograph, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Grow up. I don't buy that. I don't think he really does that.
It's very, very strange. It's very strange, but it's very fun.
It is strange if you
and
do that.
Here is a shameless plug for my site. Now, this is out of stock. It's not for sale, so I'm not telling you, hey, go to the Time Teller shop to buy this. We haven't done a restock, and it's because my health has been declining. The status of my leg recovery and my nerve damage, it's been so bad that I have not had the wherewithal to restock the shop. But I am selling some watches, and
Why? Like, dude, that's just an excuse to me, man. Like, we all deal with things. You have a leg injury and you can't restock your shop. Like, I don't buy that at all. I don't know what he's talking about, but
we will do a formal restock in the near future. Anyway, this Sealand chronograph, 1940s. Why is this on today's list? Because this list is about building a collection of Invictas. Well, the interesting thing,
because I'm sure it'll suddenly show up in stock again on your website,
is Sealand turned into Invicta. Crazy, right? And so this is what I will tell you. If you really want one of the coolest Invictas you can get a vintage one. Now,
I disagree. I don't see the appeal to a vintage watch. When I think of vintage watches, like I have a couple vintage watches, like the Seiko, for instance, my dad's from the 80s. Like it means something to me because it was my dad's, right? You know, I remember a kid like looking at it and playing with it, right? You know, same thing with like my automatic Timex. It's like, what is it, like a quarter size? It's super small, probably like 33 millimeter maybe. My grandfather, you know, worked in the coal mines whole life, wore one watch, a Timex. Still works to this day. Takes a lick and keeps on ticking. So those vintage watches are meaningful to me personally because they come from people that I love. Whereas like just to get something that's vintage, I don't see the appeal. And this thing here, it's funny when I Google this, like the first thing that comes up is a time teller shop. So I feel like this is something that like is kind of specific to maybe his company. And yeah, I'll have to read about that. I guess that is interesting though, Sealand. I've never heard of Sealand before, so yeah, Sealand 1940s. I don't even know if you can. Dude, this fucking thing was $1,000. I don't know. I just saw. Yeah, it looks like it says sold out on his site, but it says here out of stock. This is right from the time teller shop. $1,100. Dude, if you pay $1,100 for this watch, like you got to have your head examined. Like this is an extremely marked up watch. Like I don't know, and I guess if it's vintage, you can. I don't know. So some of those vintage things sell for a lot more, but to me that's absurd. This looks like the Invicta for $50 looks like a much higher quality watch than this. The only appeal this has is the fact that it's an automatic, and so I'm surprised anybody would buy that. But that's the thing about watches, though. I mean, you buy what you like; it makes you happy. But $1,000 for that, crazy.
Find it from a reputable seller. Do your research. I believe this one has what a Landron movement. Yeah, Landron 48. Really cool, very vintage. Look at those blued hands, dude.
There's nothing.
This
cool
thing is
about
awesome,
that watch.
and I'm not even trying to sell this to you because I sold this years and years ago. But yeah, this is a proto.
Good on him though. He sold that fucker for $1,000. Like, I mean, I don't know what he paid for it, but that's incredible to me that somebody would pay that for that.
So Invicta, Sealand watch company turned into Invicta. So Invicta made some really cool watches way back when.
Just nothing. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, they made some really cool watches way back then. Like, there's nothing cool about that. That's a dime a dozen fucking watch. You could find hundreds of watches that look exactly like that. There's nothing cool. Now, cool is subjective, but if you can say that this watch is cool, then there should be hundreds of Invictas that you would say are cool, right? He's more into the story and the history is what he finds cool, not the actual watch. That watch is boring.
Like to see now that they are making some cool watches currently. Most of what they produce is trash, but they do have some great watches. Now,
see, that's just a complete false statement. He said most of what they produce in Victor is trash. But with no context at all. Like, why? Because you don't like the way they look? Because if you're stating that $49 watch is okay, then you're basically stating that every watch Invicta makes is okay. Like, because that's like bottom tier Invicta quality. So what a fucking liar. This is what I don't like about people like this. Making statements like that are simply not true. You just in one breath state that this $50 watch meets your seal of approval, but then most of Invicta makes is trash. Be specific when you're referring to something like that. Say, hey, you know what? I think that most of the watches Invicta makes, which is absurd. If you say that this 1940 Sealand is something that you like the way it looks, Invicta makes tons of watches that are conservative that you would like, right? So how can you just say that all the Invictas are trash? It's just complete bullshit, right? These guys just cannot, they just can't help themselves but to bash the brand. Even when they're trying to, even when they're trying to approve the brand. It's just crazy.
Speaking of the trash, here is the honorable mention. Okay. I didn't realize this. Invicta owns a brand called Activa. Where have you seen this design before? It's just a 5600, but way worse. Okay.
Why?
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It is a fake G-Shock, essentially.
Yep, fake G-Shock, just like many AliExpress brands. Look at the price, $6.90. I venture to guess that this watch quality is probably 99% what G-Shock is selling there, or Casio is selling their G-Shock for. I mean, it's just fucking fake news all the time with these guys.
It is a 5600 wannabe with a 30-meter water resistance rating. Now, its saving grace, if you can call it that, is it's $6 and some change, just under $7. I have a bunch of variants of it too, but here's what I'll tell you: for $6.90, just save up a little more, like a little more. I got a Casio Illuminator with a 100-meter water resistance rating, same case design. It was also like kind of a 5600, but not under the G-Shock label. It's essentially a G-Shock just with 100 meters less water resistance rating. Still has a 100-meter water resistance rating. Doesn't have the G-Shock 200-meter water resistance rating, but I think I got it for like $9 or something on Amazon. So this is...
I would agree with that, actually. You know, if you're going to... I think maybe somebody might buy this Invicta for $6.90. If maybe they're buying another Invicta and they're like, oh, I'm going to throw on this watch I can kind of beat around with, right? You know, I wouldn't, because you're going to pay shipping on top of this, right? So if you can buy the Casio version of this, the actual Casio, I would much rather, I'm with them on that. Like, if the Casios, I don't know what they cost, but if it's like $20, yeah, buy the Casio over this. At least you're going to get a legit... They've been doing this a very long time. I'd put more faith in the Casio quality over this without looking at the two of them. It might be made by Casio. We have no idea. But, I don't know, for $6.90, it's... I mean, it's a great value. But you could also go to AliExpress and get these watches for like a couple bucks. So, yeah. This is Invicta honestly trying to... you know, appeal to more people, you know? I mean, they're just spreading the net wider, right? Casting the net further just to get more people into buying watches from them. Yeah, I get it.
This is, isn't Activa the yogurt? Yeah. Activia! Shout out Jamie Lee Curtis. But yeah, this really...
I hate when people think they're funny when they're not. Like, some people are just naturally funny. Like when people joke and think they're funny, I don't find him funny at all. I'm repulsed.
Shouldn't be on today's list, but it's absolutely terrible. So,
why? It's not terrible. It's a $6.90 watch. Why is it terrible? Like, I agree with them. You know, save a little more and buy the Casio, but it's not terrible.
Do not buy one of these. But how do I actually feel about Invicta? Jokes aside, I think this is proof that you can find good things from brands that you really don't like. I'm going to go up a price point. Tag Heuer. Really don't like Tag Heuer.
Why?
There are some Tag Heuers that I do truly enjoy, though. So
then you don't dislike Tag Heuer. I mean, that statement contradicts himself all the time. If you don't like a brand, then you don't like any of their watches. it's more honest. It's honest to say, hey, I don't like every tag. Just like I don't like. It's like me being like, I don't like Invicta, but there are Invictas I like. That's why I own 50 of them. Like, no, it's like you just state that you don't like all. I don't like all Invictas. Absolutely, I have the ones that I like. Those are the ones I buy. I haven't bought an Invicta in quite some time. Every now and then they come out with one that I want to add to the collection. But when again, I have almost 500 watches. It's hard to rationalize buying anymore, right? So I don't know. It's just this contradiction constantly. I don't like tag, but there are tags I like. It's like, no, then you don't dislike tag. You just don't like all models of tag.
So that's the case. If I can find the good in some Invicta watches, then you can find the good in some other things you don't like. I think there's a lesson there, but perhaps that's the greater philosophy there is not something for this channel, but we can explore that elsewhere. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Let me know, how would you build a collection out of Invicta watches? Again, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 for my collection. I did a dress watch, a sports watch, a pilot's watch, and a chronograph. And then again, that G-Shock wannabe, but that doesn't count. I picked 4. What would be your 4? Leave it in the comment section. Even if you're not watching this live, leave it in the comment section. And I'll laugh at you there, because I guarantee you guys are, I think I picked the best ones. So the ones you pick are either going to be incredible or absolutely terrible.
Anyway, so that's my 2 cents on this. At the end of the day, the point I really want to make with stuff like this is, and especially I do it all the time when I do, I review the reviewer. Buy what makes you happy. When you see a watch, when I talk about the check boxes, as I always mention, I've been preaching this for years. Number 1, do you like it? Number 2, what is it made out of? Number 3, what kind of movement does it have? Number 4, what kind of crystal? And after that, you're looking at like fit and finishing, really. And then, to be honest with you, with modern machining, they're all pretty darn good. So, if you're looking at a watch and you are looking through Invicta website, or you're looking through, what was I looking through, Phoibos the other day? I don't like all Phoibos watches. Few I really like on there, right? So when you're looking through a site, if you say, hey, I'm looking to get a watch, you don't know what brand to get, a lot of people are going to choose their first watch, or any watch for that matter, based on how much they want to spend. If you have deep pockets, then that's going to open up a whole slew of other brands. For somebody like me, when I first started looking at watches, I don't really think you necessarily just decide one day to buy a watch, although you might. But usually it kind of starts with, you got a watch as a kid and you wore that. And then you get turned to adult and maybe you didn't wear a watch as long, for a while. And then all of a sudden you're like, I wouldn't mind getting a G-Shock. And you just start to, I don't know, I think collecting watches kind of evolves, and not saying evolve where you become more sophisticated. You don't want to become a douchebag, because ultimately, if, they're all pretty nice. And I don't think you should ever, my opinion, I don't look at a watch that's $10 that I got in the mall back in like 1999 and say, oh man, I learned a lot. Like, not really. Like, I still had fun wearing that $10 watch, and even to this day, whether it's a higher end watch, right, that warrants a higher price, or like when I look at my Aquadive, right, I keep mentioning the Aquadive because this is one of my more expensive ones, right? When I look at that watch, or let's say a Valjoux watch, and whatever, Cadola, whatever watch brand. When I look at that watch, and then I look at my $24 Temu red iced out, low quality quartz watch, no stainless steel, just some kind of plating, I get more excited about the cheap Temu because it's so flashy and blinged out. It's so unique looking. I get more excited about that watch. But I don't know. I just ultimately, when you see a watch, you whatever brand, if you are like, I'll use my coworker as an example, showing him tons of watches, right? Came over, looked at all these different watches, just started looking through Amazon. I gave him some recommendations. Here's Invicta, here's Aragon. And ultimately, you just start looking through a website. And when you see one that you like, too, I kind of like the looks of that. A lot of choosing a watch is cosmetic. Then you look at, the price, of course. What does that cost? Oh, it's, $200. Okay, I can afford that. Well, what was it made out of? Oh, it's 316 stainless steel. Well, good. That's most of the watch right there. After that, well, I was kind of looking for, like my dad. He prefers quartz over automatic. I prefer automatic. For me, I'd be like, all right, well, $200. Is it automatic? Ooh, it is. That's a good, what kind? NH35. It's pretty good value. It's a good quality automatic movement, When you're getting a quartz, and I'm like, for me personally, I wish I was an automatic for $200. All right, it's quartz. What kind of quartz does it have? Oh, it's a no name brand, just basic $5 movement. All right, well now that watch value doesn't become as strong, right? I mean, it's we're getting a basic no name movement. All right, but do you really like the watch enough? Then you might be able to kind of make an exception for, like, for instance, my Bulova Octava, right? I don't know what movement's in that. It's a quartz. It's probably some basic quartz, right? It's not the precisionist movement. Not sure what's in there. Some basic movement. But I like the watch with the black Swarovski crystals. I like the look of the watch. The watch is kind of expensive for what it is, but you like it enough, you'll sometimes make an excuse for it. So that's it. That's all I got to say, folks. So, Mr. Man, thanks for sticking around. Hopefully we get some people coming back in here to watch it on the rerun. We didn't get anybody in here today. I don't know what happened, but sometimes I feel like when I put up a video through OBS Studio, it just doesn't, I don't know if it's just not recommended the same way or what, but I always feel like when I stream directly through the YouTube website, there's always more people in the chat. Not tons of people, but more than today. So, but anyway, for you folks who did pop in, thank you, appreciate it. It's always fun to kind of go back and forth. And man, Mr. 28, thanks for subscribing, thanks for watching myself, and of course the time teller. And let me know what you guys think about this reaction in the comment section. Remember, always buy the watch that calls to you, and then kind of break it down from there. But at the end of the day, no matter what you spend, most of the watches out there are going to give you, a lot of bang for your buck nowadays. So thanks for watching, folks. Have a great day, and take care.